Let's do this thing.
Ooh.
Tilt your camera up a little, though. Just a hair. Oh, split. Look at you. You look all spiffy in that frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, buddy.
Ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Welcome to Star Trek Asterisk, the weekly podcast where we watch Star Trek and then talk about it. I am Steve. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Steve.
I'm Zach. I don't have a home right now because I don't know where I live right now.
That's sad.
You know, I have to figure out because I used the under the bridge thing earlier.
Uh-huh.
That was the only one I had prepared. That's all I had prepared at the time. I've gone from troll to nothing.
Oh, well.
I'm a homeless troll.
We'll find a home for you.
All right, the home for trolls.
Okay, let's see. Today we watched Lonely Among Us, Justice, and the Battle
The battle,
in the first season of Star Trek The Next Generation,
which will be over soon, hopefully.
hopefully. Yeah, the first season hasn't turned out to be all that good
Yeah,
overall.
it's their version 1.0.
Right.
They're trying to fit everything in and get it all the way they needed to get it.
They're still trying to learn how to separate themselves from the original series.
They're still trying to learn how to be a good show in the 80s instead of a typical show in the 60s.
Yeah, true. But the first one we watched, Lonely Among Us, was about this energy being that comes onto the ship while they're at the same time transporting a couple of delegates to, what's the planet's name?
Parliament. Yeah.
Which is a weird planet name, but, whatever.
Apparently everything in space in the future is British.
Yeah.
That's what I learned from Doctor Who, and this just proves that.
Yeah, and, Picard.
And Picard.
I mean, he's French, but he's British.
Yeah, what? Yeah. I don't get that.
But yeah, they pick up these two alien races, and it's like a snake race and a bald Chewbacca race.
Yeah, like a bald Wookiee race.
And they have a whole bunch of reasons to bicker, apparently, and the Wookiee type race likes to eat meat, and apparently
They have to have live meat. They have to bring it in alive, and like they just like Nibbler.
yeah.
Yeah,
like
basically they're just on their meat.
And one of the things they eat is this other race.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have a lot of reasons to bicker. So now they're going to Parliament to try to work stuff out or whatever. And Enterprise is the ones picking them up. While they're on their way...
Enterprise picked them up. I'm sorry, it just kind of was there. Sorry, go ahead.
On their way, they come across this space cloud. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, and with all these energy thingies in it.
Yeah. And, they take a look at it, but, I mean, they have a mission, so they have to go by. And while they're going through the cloud instead of around it, which I would have suggested, this energy stuff, who does it hit first?
It hits Worf first.
It hits Worf
first. Worf is looking at something on one of the panels down in engineering, and it just hits him, and he goes into the floor, and he starts, and then Crusher has to run in, and apparently Geordi can pin him down, and then they have to drag him out of there to sickbay.
Yeah. And then obviously no one knows what's wrong with Worf, but he was going crazy, and now he's unconscious. Excuse me. So while Crusher is taking a look at him, the energy being transfers into her, and then Troy comes in and says, "Is everything okay?" And Crusher's like, "Yes, we are both okay."
Now.
Yeah, and then what happens?
So Crusher starts acting really weird, and she starts wandering around. she goes into her room where Wesley is looking at like warp stuff, whatever. He's looking at engineering schematics and whatnot, and wearing a terrible sweater as usual.
Yeah.
And she's talking about controlling the ship, which direction it's going. And he's like, well, this doesn't control the direction. That's helm control. She's like, oh, helm control, of course, which is on the bridge. And then she goes up to the bridge, and she like drunkenly walks around, and she walks up to where Geordi is at the helm and says, this is the helm. And Geordi kind of goes, yeah, unless it's changed in the last couple of minutes.
But you don't have to take my word for it.
Oh, I hate you. So she starts wandering around to different consoles, and everybody's like, why are you drunk? And she eventually is like, okay, I'm just going to go continue working on stuff in my office now.
Just don't mind me.
And so she walks away, and then Data's standing there, and he notices that the console stops working.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes to the one directly, like the one next to him where Dr. Crusher was standing. That one's not working either. And they're like, what? And then the ship stops, like the ship's at warp, and then it like slows all the way down.
Yeah.
And it just stops. And they're all kind of like, well, wait, what's going on here? Is there a bug? Is there a glitch? And then what happens?
Well,
they find out there's no glitch.
Yeah, they find out there's no glitch. But I mean, this is around the time too that they're talking to those two aliens, and they're just having random problems too.
Yeah, the other aliens are just kind of there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's a plot and a subplot. They really have nothing to do with each other, which is not really good for for any episode of TV, as when the two plots don't have anything to do with each other.
Yeah.
It's better to make them connect somehow, but in this case, it doesn't. Except that they really need to get to Parliament. And this alien is making it so that they can't. But anyway, the two delegations are going at it, and this is when we learn that all humans in the future are vegans. I mean, I guess we could have figured that out if we thought about it, but Riker explicitly says that we don't herd and kill animals anymore for the sake of food. We replicate the meat.
Well, as we already know, the whales are gone anyway.
True.
Stupid replicator, making everything vegan.
Pretty much, yeah. I wonder how it tastes, though. I mean,
They
can copy the molecules perfectly.
Yeah, I had this conversation today about I had it with Norb and Chris about turkey bacon, and Norb swears up and down that turkey bacon's the best, and I punched him through the computer because he doesn't understand how bacon works. Apparently, he doesn't understand the mechanics of bacon. So yeah, no, I'm sure that it tastes similar, but it can't be the same thing. You can't replicate good meat. You can't.
I wonder though. I don't know.
No, well, it's just like they're like
you got to think the first time that they program this food substance into a replicator, they have to have the original food to copy, don't they?
Yeah, I guess so. But it's still not the same. I don't know.
I guess we'll find out when we get to the future.
Yeah. Ask me again in 200 years.
But then after that, we get into Picard's ready room, and all the officers are around, and they're trying to figure this out logically and trying to come up with a solution to why these things are going wrong. Riker and Data believes there's a saboteur.
Yep. Saboteur. That's what Data said.
And then Picard kind of wistfully mentions that, oh, this is like solving a mystery like Sherlock Holmes.
And so Data goes off on that tangent.
and then Data watches all, let's say, 5 seasons of BBC Sherlock in one night. And,
yeah.
and instantly becomes a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And the next time we see him, they come together, and he's holding a pipe.
And he says indubitably.
Yeah.
And he says my dear lady to Yar. I still think that's a misnomer. I don't think she's a lady.
But this is one of the things we find out about Data is that he's very imitative.
Yeah.
He'll latch onto something that's human and go
And
whole hog into it.
oh yeah. Oh, he will. Yeah. He's a weird one.
Meanwhile, let's see. We got this Singh guy in engineering, and he's just working around. And Worf isn't there, but Crusher's there.
Yeah, Wesley's there.
And Singh is trying to fix something in the engine, and Wesley says, "Oh, this thing is wrong." Blah blah blah. And Singh's like, "Shut up! You're just a kid. Go away."
And then he starts working on the thing again, and energy thing zaps him, but it kills him.
Yeah, it kills
because
Singh.
apparently everybody else can handle it but him.
Yeah, Indians aren't
guess
able to handle it.
Yeah.
Although Khan Noonien Singh may be able to handle it.
Well, he's different. he's
now I forgot the word.
See, that happened to me too. He's a
augment. He's an
augment.
Yes.
Yeah. So he can handle all of the things.
Yes.
Except like he monologues. That's his problem. That was his downfall, monologuing.
That's true, yeah. Pride was his downfall.
Yeah.
Likes to hear himself speak. Anyway, that's totally beside the point.
Yes, anyway.
Then later on, the two aliens are going after it again, and this time Miles O'Brien breaks them up like it was a bar fight. And then we go back to the other plot where Data is figuring all this stuff out, and he comes to the conclusion that there's something in the computer system.
Yeah.
So, then what? Then Picard goes to the bridge. Is that?
Picard goes up to the bridge, and he sits there and he puts his hand down.
Yeah.
Where Data and Geordi are, and then the thing hits him, and then suddenly he's being possessed by this energy being, and he tells them, "Hey, turn around. We're going back." And they're like, why?
Wait a minute.
And he's like, "I'm sorry, I'm the captain. Do you question all of my orders?" So they're like, "No, but we're just kind of curious." And he's like, "We're going back to study that energy cloud because it was interesting, and I think there's more to it." And they were like, "Well, the sensors didn't show hardly anything." And then he's like, "Well, that's why we're going, so we can find out more stuff." So they try to figure out a way that they can get him out of command, which they really can't because Riker doesn't make the call to tell them all to say, "Okay, we've got to do this."
Yeah.
And so they're like, "All right, fine."
He doesn't find sufficient reason.
Right.
He's not endangering the crew or anything.
Right. So they get there, and he's like, "So guess what, guys? There are these energy beings out there, and one of them accidentally latched onto us when we were coming through, and it was scared and lost and alone. And I'm going to go out there with it as a being of pure energy to be out there with it. And we're going to combine and all of this mystical fun stuff." And they're like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Going to the transporter room. See ya." And they're like, "Oh, whoa. And they're like, "You know what? Just let him go." They let him go do his thing. And he beams out into nothingness, right? Mm-hmm. And since he's just energy out there, he doesn't materialize in anything physical. He's just kind of floating out there, and they just sit there for a few minutes, and nothing happens. And they're like, then Riker's like, "All right, we got to go. We're already behind schedule." Geordi's like, "We're just going to leave him?" And he's like, "Well, what else are we supposed to do?" And then Counselor Troy goes, "Wait, I has the feels. I can feel him. Lord Jesus, he's out there calling out for us." So they figure that what they can do is they can kind of float in there until he latches back into the computer.
Right.
And eventually they see the computer starts acting weird again. And on Geordi's console, the interface rearranges and there's a P for Picard.
Hooray.
And they're like, "Oh, well, since his energy's in the ship again, maybe he'll be smart enough to get down to the transporter room." And so Data's like, "I have an idea." So they go down there, and Data's like, he was the last one to beam out, so his pattern is still inside the transporter. So if we take his energy, combine it with that last copy of the pattern, then we should be able to rematerialize him. And lo and behold, and there he is. And he's like, "What happened?" Because the copy of him that was the copy of his pattern that was in the transporter, was expecting to go out, and to him it was just like he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And so, and then there was a murder, and hey, okay, that's the end of the episode. Like that literally is what happened.
Tasha comes in and says there's a pool of blood under the delegate's door,
And one of them's missing.
And one of them's missing, and they just laugh it off. Oh, whatever.
Okay, and then that's the end of the episode.
Picard's like, I'm going to take a break, Riker. You can handle it. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you think of this episode as a whole?
Yeah, I mean the delegate thing was sort of, it was fluff material. It was.
Yeah.
I guess it gave them a reason to be traveling, but it just really didn't do anything for me, as far as that's concerned. Mm-hmm. But the idea of the energy being and its ability to travel through them and through the computer system, I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I pretty much feel the exact same way. I mean, there's half the story here, and the other half is just blah.
Right, exactly.
What was I gonna say? Oh, the part about Picard beaming out and just remaining as energy.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand that part because I mean I have a pretty good idea of how transporters work, and I mean I suppose you could kind of hack into it to make it so that you go out as pure energy.
You could. But, well, the thing is this: if you beam out, you have to have somewhere to rematerialize on the other side. If you don't, you can basically. This is my theory anyway. Mm-hmm. The transporter has to transport the energy and then rematerialize, convert that energy back into matter. Mm-hmm. If it stops at that last step and doesn't actually convert that excess energy back into the matter, right, then I'm thinking that then it just kind of stops there and the energy is just out there. Because like the way I see it is this: person goes in transporter, mm-hmm, transporter scans, mm-hmm, pulls out all the data of that particular person, and then converts their matter form into energy, keeping a copy of the pattern so they can materialize them on the other side. Then transfers that energy to that location, has all that energy there, and then converts that energy back into the physical form, right, with a little bit of energy left over that would need to be that person, right, instead of just like the physical body.
Sense. That makes sense.
So I think if it stops at the last step, the energy just goes out there and never actually converts back to a physical form.
Yeah. So in this case, when he went out there and was just energy form, instead of really beaming back, he kind of went the long way around and traveled through the computer and then up into the transporter and then beamed onto the pad.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so that's that. Thank you, engineer. That was very insightful.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's what I do around here.
The next episode was Justice.
Justice. There were lots of TNA in this episode.
There was very scantily clad people.
Yeah, and they were just
Pretty
humping.
much.
Yeah, I mean they just walk around. Oh, hello. Hello.
Do you remember like the original reason they actually went there?
They went there because they had colonists in like the next solar system over, and they detected life over here where they didn't have life before. Like they didn't realize there was life there before.
Right.
So they go over there and they learn about the customs and they decide to beam down. And they realize, in learning about the customs, they realize that these people, they have some pretty strict laws, but they don't go into the punishment of it. But these people are very loving and very caring, and they do like to get physical, quote, at the drop of a hat, end quote. So, they beam down, and they're already touchy-feely. Mm-hmm. Like, the one guy goes up and, starts to basically neck with Counselor Troy, and she's like, okay, buddy. And then he goes over to Lieutenant Yar, and she's all excited to see him again because she was the one that was learning about the customs.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, hi. So she goes down there, and she's all happy, and there's a lot of happiness that Counselor Troy feels. So they're doing their thing. They realize that the way they get everywhere is they run. They run for fun, and they're just running around. And Wesley gets down there with them. He's going off with the kids, and all the kids are going to do their thing. He's like, I want to go play. And the kids are even scantily clad, which is kind of disturbing.
Not as scantily
clad, but still pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
So Wesley goes off with them and does their thing. And so the adults go to have their little meeting and talk about, their customs and learn about their culture and everything else. Mm-hmm. Well, while they're out there, they learn that they're pretty simplistic people. They believe that there is this God that's lives above them somewhere, and that they're just happy and nice all the time. And we find out that the reason this is because there are certain zones that they have these mediators, and if someone disturbs something within this zone, then they have to get punished, and their punishment is death, no matter what it is. Like walking on the grass. If you walk on the grass in this zone, death to you.
Damn it.
So, meanwhile, up on the ship, there's like this thing that appears out in front of the ship. It looks like something that's there, but it's not really there.
Right, it's kind of transparent.
It's like kind of translucent, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so then this big, like this ball just shows up out of the console with this big booming voice. It's like, state the purpose. And they're like, oh my God, what? It's like, why are you down? Why did you leave life forms near my children? And it's like, oh no, we set up colonists there. We're just trying to cultivate this world and produce resources and whatnot. And it's like, stay away from my children. And then it hits Data in the head and knocks him over. And they're like, what? So they come to realize that this thing is doing like this data energy transfer thing.
Right.
Basically a high-speed connection link between the being and Data, while Data's, seemingly unconscious. And they eventually, the thing eventually goes away, gets what it wants, and they go away. Well, big deal. Well, they go down, we come back down, that's when they learn that the punishment for any crime is death, and they're like, oh God, Wesley's down here, he's going to do something dumb. So they run away.
Wesley is going to screw something up.
Wesley's going to break something. Right about this time, Wesley's playing with his friends, they're throwing a ball around, and he's like, throw it long, I'll go get it. And the guy throws it, and Wesley runs back, and sure enough, here's one of these zones. And like, no, stop. He's like, no, I'll get it. And he trips over into the zone and crushes some flowers that are there.
Damn it.
Then here come the mediators. And they do their little thing, and the others run up. They're like, Wesley, what did you do? He's like, I'm okay, I just hit the flowers. And they're like, speak the truth. Did you actually do this? He's like, I didn't mean to, I'm sorry. He's like, did others see this? And they're like, the one guy's like, it was my fault, I threw the ball. He's like, so we have witnesses and ample evidence. It's like, we must administer the punishment now. And they pull out like this syringe-looking thing. And then, who's it, Yar?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yar goes, hey, this looks like a syringe. And they're like, no. So they're like, look, we don't understand the customs here. We didn't know this. They're like, Yar, weren't you supposed to find this out? Well, they didn't tell me anything about punishments. So they're like, okay, you know what? Fine. Then we'll delay his punishment until sunset. And so they're like, so you promise that he'll be fine until then? It's like, we just said it, didn't we? So a few of them go back up to the ship, and Beverly, oh my God, she's a wreck because they're about to kill her son. Mm-hmm. And so Picard's like, okay, look, I'm going to make sure that nothing happens to him.
Yeah.
So they go back down, and Picard's like, okay, look, if you kill him, then that's bad by us.
Right.
That's bad. You know,
That's breaking our rules.
that's breaking our rules. If we take him and you don't carry out the punishment that's your laws have set forth, we're breaking our rules.
Yeah.
Because we're interfering with the way you guys have things set up. We're interfering with our own prime directive, which at one point Dr. Crusher's like, I don't give a damn about the prime directive. They're about to kill my son.
Yeah.
So screw you, screw your prime directive. We're going to go get Wesley.
Yeah.
So they're fine, whatever. They're going down to do their thing, and when they get there, Picard's like, you know what? No, we're taking him. I'm sorry, but that's just how it's going to be. And so, they start to beam up, and they can't do it. They're calling back. It's like, we're trying to activate the transporter, but nothing's happening. Mm-hmm. And so Picard realizes that their god that's up there has prevented the transporter beam from working.
Yeah.
And he goes, you know what? If you had justice, you would see that this punishment doesn't fit this crime. So maybe don't be a douche. And then they beam up.
But they brought this girl with them.
They brought the girl with them the first time when they went back while they were holding Wesley.
Right.
So that she could see that it was God and confirm it and all this other crap.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, I forgot about that.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, well, they bring her into this room where they can see the god ship through the window.
The god ship, I like that.
Through the window, and then she goes up there and says, and like kneels before it immediately. But yeah, and then after they do all this stuff, Data wakes back up and basically explains everything that these gods are. Is they're an advanced race.
They're just basically like energy beings.
Yeah, energy beings like Star Trek has run into so many other times.
Right.
And so, I mean, now they know the nature of these people, and now they know where these people on the planet come from, and so everything is pretty much making sense. But now they still have to get Wesley.
Yeah. And then all the other stuff
that.
happens. They get Wesley, and then they leave.
How do they do that? Do they just? I forgot.
No, remember I said Picard goes down. And he's basically like, "Look, this isn't going to happen. We're taking Wesley with us." And then the God or whoever, was like, didn't let them
right.
out.
That's when Picard makes his
statement of justice.
Yeah.
Thus the basis of the episode's name.
Yeah.
That was it.
And with Wesley's life saved, the Enterprise departs.
Mwah.
Too bad they saved Wesley's life.
Yeah, right? Exactly. God.
But other than that, what did you think?
Other than that, I thought it was pretty neat. And, I'm not going to lie. I was a big fan of, all the parts flopping around as they were running around. Not even going to lie.
Yeah.
Although there was that one scene where they walked inside and the three women were oiling up the guy. That was a little distracting at first.
Yeah.
I
didn't know what to think about that.
I didn't know what to. I wasn't sure what to look at. Do I look at the girls or do I look at the guy that's all greased up, like shining in my eye?
Oh goodness. Yeah, I mean, it's
interesting.
It's interesting. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I can get on board with an intelligent species that believes death is a fair justice for
minor crimes,
trampling on flowers.
And there has to be a punishment fits the crime thing here. Yeah. That's just extreme, and I know
unless the advanced species engineered them to believe that's okay.
Well, I'm sure that's the way. That's why they are the way they are. That's the problem when you set up a utopian society, is no matter how perfect it is, there's at least one thing that's not right.
Yeah.
In this case, it's the punishment and crime for the crime thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's everything else seems great,
Yeah.
I mean, you just run around and let everything hang out, and you fuck it will, but don't step on the grass inside the white markers, or we're gonna kill you.
Yeah.
It
doesn't ring true.
No, it's off.
It seems like, and there's a good. I was reading on Memory Alpha where the original script by writer John D.F. Black, who used the pseudonym Ralph Willis in the end because the episode held so little resemblance to the original draft. Anyway, in the original draft, there was like this whole rebellion that was going up against
Oh,
the
there
rules.
was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and I could get behind that.
See, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense for a few people to say, "Hey, something's amiss here."
Yeah, yeah. But for everyone to just agree and say, "Nah, that's
Yeah,
fine."
that seems way too, you know, way too much like sheep.
Yeah, yeah. But let's see. Did we didn't really learn anything new about anyone.
No, we just
It's just
really this one was mostly just to watch parts flop around.
pretty much.
Yep. And for that, I enjoyed it.
And for that, we thank you, as Tosh would say. Anyway, the battle was the next one. In this one, they're meeting up with some Ferengi.
Oh, Ferengi.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get a message from the Ferengi and it says, what is it, Enterprise standby? And that's all they get. And they're like,
Right.
wait, what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What is this all about? And Picard's like, I don't know, but let's just see what they want because whatever, we're bigger than them and no big deal. So the Ferengi come up and they finally hail them and say, hey, we have something of yours that you might want back. And it's Damon Bach, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Damon Bach is like, we've got something of yours you might want back. And Picard's like, oh, really? What do you have? And lo and behold, it's his old ship, the Stargazer. It's an old, what was it, a Constellation class?
Yes.
Yeah, it's an old Constellation class ship, the Stargazer. It was a battle that he was in a long time ago, and he actually had to abandon ship and let it because it wasn't in any position to where he could operate it anymore. So he abandoned the ship, and eventually came to be the captain of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
So they're like, we want to give you your ship back. And then he's like, for what? And they're like, oh, no, this is just something we want to give to you. And they're like,
A gesture of friendship.
and they're like, yeah, this isn't right. Because we know, from what little bit we know about the Ferengi at this point, we know that these guys are monetarily driven.
Yeah.
They are driven purely by profit.
Yeah.
So if there's something that they're doing, they have to have some kind of monetary reason to do it.
Yeah, it's actually against the law not to make a profit.
Exactly. So if they're doing something that isn't netting them some sort of profit, they're breaking Ferengi law.
Mm-hmm.
And that can get them in serious trouble. I mean, their punishments are pretty harsh for that sort of thing. So it's like, all right, fine, whatever, we'll take it. And then Picard starts having these headaches. And Crusher's like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I know what a headache is. It's just nobody has them.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
we've gotten so advanced in our medical technology.
We've mapped the human brain, as she says.
Right. Yeah. So we don't need to, we don't have headaches anymore. Mm-hmm. They're just not a thing. So what are you doing? So it's fine. No big deal. Well, they get the Stargazer on a tractor beam, and they beam over to see what's left and see what's going on over there. And they find all kinds of old stuff, and Picard finds things in his old cabin over there. He sees his old bridge, and you can see all the fire damage from when it was the leftover scars from the battle.
Yeah.
And his headaches are starting to get worse. And as he goes through his stuff in his cabin, he notices there's like this big silver ball, this glowing ball that's in one of these suitcases that's over there.
Well, I don't think he notices. I think the audience notices it. But
Right. Well, okay. Yeah, we
yeah.
notice it, but I guess he doesn't really pay attention to it.
Right.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
point. So anyway, there's this big ball thing that's pulsing. Okay, this is really weird, but his headaches come back, and they're really intense this time. So Crusher walks in, and she takes care of him, gets him out of there, and then they end up beaming the stuff back, and whatnot. And so the Ferengi at this time, they're basically like, okay, well, here's your ship. We'll go with you for a little while, and things will be just fine. Well, as we continue to progress through the episode, we learned that these like the sphere it's a like a memory creator you know.
Yeah.
And so basically, what it's doing, it's manifesting these old memories of Picard's, so that he's actually getting to the point where he's, smelling the smoke and hearing the voices. And he finally is at one point, he goes to bed and wakes up, and like he can see, these ghostly images of his old crew and the flames and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So he's really messed up. And the next day he's fine. Like he's like, what? No, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. Just
Mm-hmm.
go away. Well, he eventually just starts wandering around, and
Well, Data looks through his old records.
oh, that's right, that's right. Yeah, go
Yeah,
go ahead.
he finds out that the that Kirk, or I'm sorry, Picard, apparently had left a final log entry that
Well, it's contrary to what the report was.
exactly, it was contrary to what everyone had believed. The battle of uh, what was it?
I forget.
Battle of something. I'm gonna look this up though because it's pretty important. The battle of, all right, forget it.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, it's the battle in which he comes up with the Picard maneuver.
Yeah,
He Data finds out that this last log entry that Picard made was him confessing that the Ferengi ship he fired at was an innocent ship,
yeah,
and and that uh, and that he knew it was an innocent ship, and the malfunctions aboard um, the 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 Stargazer was not because of the Ferengi firing, but it was just a random malfunction. Um, and Picard hears this, and obviously he doesn't believe it at first, but then he starts thinking, well, what if it was an innocent ship? And he starts believing all of this stuff, and we come to find out that it's because of this thought maker that he's starting to believe what the record on what the new record says. Later on, of course, Data says there are some discrepancies that might lead to this being a faked message. So, I mean, obviously we knew it wasn't Picard all along, but now the people on board the Enterprise know it's not Picard. Picard does think it's him, though, and in the meantime, goes over to the Stargazer and starts taking it over.
yeah. And then Bach's over there,
Yeah.
and Bach's got a sphere over there that he was using earlier to send these signals. Well, he's got this master sphere over there, and he basically jacks the thing up, and Picard passes out, and he goes, you know what? You're back on the Stargazer, and you're reliving this. So enjoy, and he beams out. And at that point, Picard actually thinks that he's back in that situation. To him, he's right there with his crew. The place is on fire. Everything's going to shit. And he turns around and he's getting ready to fire. And they, who was it? Was it Riker? Riker realized that what they could do is, because there's so much more power in the Enterprise than there is on the Stargazer, they could use the tractor beam to kind of hold it in place
Yeah.
and to, limit the range of the fire of the Stargazer and actually break through the shields and say you can get through to Picard. So they do, and he finally gets on screen and he's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "It's me. It's Riker. It's your number one."
Yeah.
He's like, "What?" He's like, "I don't know you." He's like, "There's a silver ball. Look for the silver ball and destroy it with your phaser." And so Picard, in this haze, is actually able to look over, see the thing, and finally he's able to pull out his phaser and destroy it, blows him backwards, and then he wakes up a minute later, realizing that this was all just something that was manifested by this device.
Yeah.
And he's able to beam back. In the meantime, Riker has reached out to the Ferengi, to their first officer, and says, "Look, from first officer to first officer, something's not right here.
Yeah.
You need to take care of it." And so, he comes back a few minutes later and he's like, look, I don't want to talk about it right now. And he's like, no, no, no. It's like, I want you to know Damon Bach is no longer in control of this ship. We know that what he did was wrong because it was an unprofitable venture.
Mm-hmm.
He has been removed from his command post, and I'm in control now. So, sorry.
Sorry and goodbye.
Sorry. That was it.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the end of the episode.
Yeah.
This is a good episode for kind of getting into the mind of Picard.
It is,
seeing,
yeah.
Seeing what he's done in the past. And,
In seeing just how intense he was as a commander before,
Yeah.
and how that's played into who he is now.
mm-hmm, exactly.
And also, it's good because this is the first time we have any truly diplomatic relations with the Ferengi.
True.
Because the last time we saw them, it was our first real encounter with them that we knew of.
Yeah.
And they were like monkeys jumping around and acting crazy. And now they're actually, they contact us, they beam over, they talk. It's starting to build that relationship a little more. And even though it was under false pretense, after the fact, we actually do start to establish more of a relationship with them because we saw the one that's initialized this whole thing, Damon Bach.
Right.
He betrayed his own people because he didn't. He went after an unprofitable venture.
Yeah.
And so now he's being punished for it, and this is something that kind of brings the Federation and the Ferengi a little bit closer to working together.
True. And you can tell even in this is the second time we've seen him, but you can tell the characterization of a Ferengi is becoming slightly better. I mean, first they were hopping around.
They were all over the place, and now they seem a little more civilized and more, I guess, mature as a species as far as the character development is concerned.
Which leads me to believe that the first Ferengi that we ran into were just
kind of like a little, they're like their own little thing off to the side, they're rejects.
Yeah, they're like street thieves, but in space.
Basically, street rats.
I don't buy that.
No, that's enough out of you.
We will return to Bach a little later. He comes back around. I think he comes back in Deep Space Nine. Is that right?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yep, Bach comes back in DS9. And he's apparently works out all of his issues.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at this.
Because does he not become Damon again?
He might. I don't even remember.
I think he is. I think he is Damon again.
All the references I see here are TNG references. There's Bloodlines. There's the battle. It doesn't have a list of where he comes. Anyway.
Oh well.
He'll come back anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see him again.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we watched today.
That's all. Yeah, it was a lot better than the last show.
True.
I mean,
there were better elements.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there were.
You get to call them that.
I'll call them elements.
Let's see. So, any old business?
I don't think any old business. I did get the last Officers Lounge and Aftermath posted today. Sorry about it being late, but it's being
At least it was before the broadcast.
That's true. Always before the broadcast.
If you I just closed everything, didn't I?
Did you?
Did you have anything open?
As far as next week's episodes that we're watching?
I can get it real quick.
I forget what we were watching. What are we watching, Steve?
I used to know. Yes, next week we will be watching Hide and Q, followed by Haven, and then The Big Goodbye.
The Big Goodbye, yeah.
That takes place in the holodeck, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, right.
I think this is a holodeck episode.
Good.
It is kind of a sad one, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
And that should do it for today. We don't have any new
any messages,
but you can call us.
Hailing frequencies are open at 513 asterisk. That's 513-278-7475. Call us anytime, day or night. The magical machine that is Google Voice will pick up, and it will take all of your information that you want to give us, and we'll spit it out back to the internet because we love you that much to give
Yes.
everybody all of your stuff. But no, call us with any questions or comments that you may have about that show or this show or whatever it may be. Let's see what else.
Whatever you want to talk about it. In the meantime, you can visit our website, thegreenasterisk.com.
Yep.
There are links to our YouTube channel, to our Tumblr, to where you can find me, where you can find Zach. You can also buy my short story, Dark Matter, on Google Play.
Yes.
And we've got a Windows 8 app.
Yes. Don't forget, if you have Windows 8, it's a free app. Just go to the Windows Store and search for the Green Asterisk, and you'll be able to see the app here. You'll see the latest tweets from Steve and the Green Asterisk account, and you can also see what's new over at thegreenasterisk.com, along with ways to get in touch with Steve. And there's a link to the Green Asterisk live page that you can view right from the app.
Wonderful.
So that's that.
And finally, if you want to join us on Star Trek Online, go to thegreenasterisk.com, click on the Star Trek Online picture, and you can join our fleet.
Yes.
We actually technically don't have a fleet yet, but once we have 5 people signed up,
Yeah.
we will start it,
Yeah.
and it'll be awesome.
It'll be cool. And I think that's it. Is that everything?
That's it.
All right.
That's all the things.
all of the things ever.
So, until next week, remember to help control the tribble population.
Have your tribble spayed or neutered.
Live long and prosper.
Goodbye, everybody.